Hello, everyone. Hope you all been well. Today on Ghost Travelers podcast, we'll be talking with Carl Lawhead. Carl is the founder of a paranormal group here in Northern Virginia called C&C Paranormal Investigations. Today, we'll be talking to Carl about how he started his group and also how he got into the paranormal field. So please join us on this journey with Carl and his team. Carl, thank you for coming on Ghost Travelers podcast. How are you guys today?
We're all right.
So, Carl, if you could, can you tell my listeners a little bit about yourself and also how you guys came together as a team?
Oh, wow. Okay. So back in 2000, I met up with a couple of guys, Chuck Heflin and Brandon Blum. So we were just talking a little bit about haunted locations we grew up around. And we decided that we would put something together just to go around and, run it haunted location. So we started doing that. We got more and more into it and started buying all new equipment. And then we started going to like Huts Hill in Strasburg, it's a battlefield, and Cameron. So we decided to go ahead and take C&C further. So we started doing public area tours, and we would post our findings on Facebook. So after quite a years, Chuck, Brandon, and myself, we brought in DJ, who became our equipment technician. And when we started doing private clients, I had reached out for other investigators, and that's when Paula Davis joined us, and she is our oddball, so to speak. I'll let her explain a little bit about what she does, and we go from there.
I don't even know where to begin on this one because we met through another. We were on a mutual case together, and that's basically how we met. And I worked with another group before I met Carl, and my job was to basically do cleansing. So I guess that's really my specialty is cleansing and getting rid of negative hauntings, negative spirits through a variety of different methods. Anything from Reiki to Satan to ritual to whatever is needed.
And we, the one thing that we are definitely trying to keep in force is we go with whatever belief the client has. We are a God-based organization. Through the years of me running C&C, there's been numerous times due to health conditions that I shouldn't be here today. But through the grace of God, he has decided to heal me. And when he did that, I had turned C&C over to him, and I just run it for him in his name. So henceforth, after going through multiple investigators, some of which tried to tear us down from the inside, we got through all that, and shortly after Paula came in, my granddaughter Paris, I call her Peanut, so she came on board and took the place of Chuck Heflin and Brandon Blum, which was a major step for one person to take on two ownership. So when she came in, she was what? How old were you at that time? 11 or 12? And she has been highly active, very forthcoming, and very decisive in the direction she brought the group. So she has taken on the role of part ownership with me, and trying to think of the right words for all this. She's brought the group to new level, and with her, we are going to be branching out in different directions, working with the younger kids who want to be paranormal investigators. We are working on starting up a small branch for younger kids to cut their teeth in the paranormal field, so to speak. It's going to be totally run by Peanut, and she's going to have C&C's financial and metaphor backing, I guess is the word I'm looking for. Sponsorship, so to speak. So with Peanut coming in as young as he is, when it comes down to our most in-depth, even going as far as our demonic infestations, she jumps right in. She's not scared of anything, and she gets in, she gets the job done. She works closely with Paula to get the evidence we need to figure out which way we need to go to either get rid of, banish, pass over. And if it's something we can't do, we then bring in our exorcist, Reverend Michael, to which we're affiliated with the Order of St. Michael's exorcist. So in a nutshell, we have a couple of other newer people in the group who are still wet behind the ears, so to speak, that need a lot of training, and they're coming along great. But there's a lot of work in this. It's never just a cut and dry type of thing. There's always work that needs to be done. Unfortunately for us, Peanut's going behind the scenes because she's going off to Bridgewater College. So still going to be active, but behind the scenes, and she's going to get out in the field as much as she can. You know, we started out very tiny. We have a big following. We only do private clients now. This tonight is just because COVID killed our clientele. We got something fun. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the COVID was a big hit on the group, and this is for us to get out and have some fun and enjoyment with Peanut before she goes off to college.
That's a very interesting background story that you guys just mentioned.
It's been a long ride, man.
And
long ride. And even though Peanut didn't not legally, but literally join, she has always, as a young child, been behind the scenes with me at the house, going through evidence. I would take her to the Huckville battlefield, in which the spirits at the battlefield loved them, because every time I brought her, and you would take pictures, she would have starbursts all around her where the spirits were protecting her from whatever was going on behind the scenes. And I have those pictures on the C&C Facebook page. You would be able to see them.
So, Carl, if you could, can you tell my listeners, and since you guys are a big family paranormal investigators, what drew you to become a paranormal investigator in the first place? Do you have like a very first experience when you were younger, or did you had it when you were hitting adult age?
Wow. I really got interested in the paranormal. I'm originally from Fredericksburg, Virginia. So Fredericksburg, of course, is associated with hundreds of thousands of ghosts. It's one of the more popular places like Gettysburg. Gettysburg has a little more of a knowledge or attraction than Fredericksburg. But Fredericksburg, you have more colonial spirits than you do Civil War. So growing up there, my best friend's house was always haunted, big time. And then when my mom passed away, she would come to the house and we would see her, and then so on. That kind of sparked it for me. And then it just went from there. Now I'll let Paula tell you hers.
Oh gosh, I've ever since I was probably 8 or 9, I've always enjoyed horror movies, ghost stories, and the ghosts we talked about like it was a normal thing in our household. So it kind of grew up around me. And I remember my grandmother used to tell me spooky stories. She would always buy me books on ghost stories. She kind of got into it. And this is something I've loved all my life, really, since I was a kid. So,
your turn.
Well, I just grew up with it in the house as well. Like, it was something that we talked about, and a lot of like our family members would like come and visit us as well. The house that I lived in was haunted by my grandfather's ex-wife, so that was a lot of activity, and it was kind of, she was always there, and always she was there. She kind of grew up with it in the house.
I'm going to tell you, Peanut doesn't remember this, but her very first paranormal encounter was with my wife, Kathy. And can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you.
So my wife was watching Peanut when she was just almost a newborn. And Peanut was laying in the living room on the floor on a blanket. My wife was in the kitchen, and I was at work. That's when I worked at Rubbermaid. And she heard Peanut laughing, cooing, and giggling and talking to somebody up in the ceiling. So she went and looked, didn't see anybody, so she came back in the kitchen, and then she heard a German lady singing to Peanut, and she went back in, and nobody was in there. So the singing kept on for a few more minutes before it stopped, and we figured out it was my mom who had come to see my first granddaughter.
Wow, that's very interesting. After she had that encounter with her grandmother, has she ever came back and visited, like maybe came see you or see how you guys are doing?
All the time. All the time. She doesn't do anything like she did to Peanut, but she does come back, and she does make herself known that she's there. She always loved the babies, and she just made her presence known with Peanut because she was the first.
Wow, very nice. For you, Carl, that your mother's there, I bet that makes you very happy that she really wants to engage herself even in the afterlife with your family.
Yeah, definitely. There's one thing I learned early from my mom after she passed away is she came back, and through a dream, she told me that God allows people or spirits to come back to visit the living anytime they need to. That he doesn't withhold them from family or loved ones.
Wow, that's very good and comforting to hear. So, from your very first encounter with the paranormal, what would you say is your most favorite location that you and your team have ever investigated since early 2000s?
Excuse me. Let's see. Wow. I think my favorite, it can't be narrowed down to just one, because I am more into the helping of the spirits and the people. So any case that we can go into and pass the spirit over, get rid of an evil one, maybe move a paranormal highway out of somebody's house, which is Paula's specialty. Anything where we can help the living or the dead, I feel is a good case for me. When it comes to just activity in itself, I don't really have a preference. I just want closure for both sides. That's my personal. So whatever the goal, yeah.
I think that last case we did with the spirit box with the Estes method was, I think, probably up there.
Yeah.
Because that was an interesting method, using the spirit box that has headphones on and can't hear me ask the questions, and then she'll blurt out the answers that she hears from the spirit box but has no idea what I'm asking. In that case, we had, with the guy's son, and we found that he basically had admitted that I guess he was ugly.
Yeah.
And they didn't tell us that when we went into that case at all. The spirit basically revealed itself and what had really happened.
And he revealed exactly who was involved.
Yeah.
And it hit close to home because it was the spirit's mother was involved in his murder.
Wow.
Yeah. That was probably the most compelling case that we have done, where we've had, unfortunately, the father of the deceased son did not want us to cross him over, so we had to leave things the way they were, but we had a little bit of closure as into his death.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
You got it.
So that would be considered for us a win. Even though it wasn't the news we wanted to hear, it was still a little bit of closure.
Yeah. I mean, we were very close to even coming up with his name.
Yeah.
We kept, like, H.
Yeah.
H. And sure enough, his son's name started with,
It was Harold.
Yeah, Harold. Oh, my God.
So, and I only remember that because one of my light bar guys is Harry.
Oh.
And I was like, I had a client. So, yeah. So we've come a long ways, especially from the last time that you and I have seen each other. We're more serious about what we do, and even though we like to play around, it's gotten to the point now where that's few and far between anymore, because we have a goal and because of our new ownership.
Yeah, most definitely. Like when we worked together back in early 2010, We were having a lot of fun investigating the paranormal field, but sometimes during the investigation you need to be more serious about it, but it's okay to have fun in between sets. Like, you can have fun while setting up the cameras and during the interview process sometimes, but when the investigation starts, you got to be more serious about this kind of type of work.
Mm-hmm. So let me tell you a little story real quick, because we really do got to be getting out of here in a minute.
Yeah, of course.
We were going to do a television series with the producer of The Real World out of California. So we had gone to the Ferry House Plantation in Virginia Beach. And during the investigation, which was a blast, I recommend anybody in the surrounding areas to visit the Ferry House Plantation in Virginia Beach. Oh, yeah. That place is phenomenal, BJ. Phenomenal. So we're doing this investigation. Lo and behold, Peanut makes a friend. She became friends with one of the little girl spirits in the house. And that's going to come into play later on during this investigation that we had talked about. It was the one with the murder, right? No. Was it Diane's house?
Yeah.
So she came to the... we went to a house that was having strange activity that we couldn't quite pinpoint. So lo and behold, via the spirit box, Peanut gets a familiar voice. And it's the little girl from the Ferry House that come to help Peanut at this case. And she told Paris, or Peanut, she was there, and told us exactly what we were dealing with in the house. And then she was gone.
Wow.
That I think was pretty great for us to know that she made a good connection on that kind of a level, that she was able to travel that far to help us out on a case when she wasn't even asked.
Wow, that's a really fascinating story.
Other than that, you're pretty much caught up. That's everything in a nutshell. I wish I had the time to get into detail about everything, but good Lord, we spend hours on the phone going through all that.
And for the short amount of time that we have left together, do you have like a website or a Facebook page for somebody can reach out to you in the Virginia area or around the nearby states saying, hey, I have this house for you to investigate, or can you come over and do a cleansing for us? Do you have like a website or anything for people can reach out to you by?
Yes, we're on Facebook under C&C Paranormal Investigation.
And with that website that you mentioned and also that Facebook page, I'll put it in the bottom of the description for my listeners can reach out to you by.
Sounds good. We don't have a website anymore. We got rid of the website when we got rid of the bad seeds in the group, because we started all over from the beginning. So now we're just on Facebook.
All right, well, Carl, I would really like to say thank you so much for your time and talking with me and also with my listeners. And, well, everybody, I'd like to say thank you for listening to Ghost Travelers Podcast. Take care and travel safe. I would like to say thank you to Carl for coming on the Ghost Travelers Podcast today. If you'd like to know more about Carl and his team, please head over to their Facebook page at C&C Paranormal Investigation. If you liked this episode of Ghost Travelers Podcast, please consider hitting that subscribe button for new episodes every other Friday for now. If you do, we'll be truly thankful. Thank you for listening. This is your host, PJ, for Ghost Travelers Podcast. Take care and travel safe.